In this lesson, we are going to focus on comparing, graphing, and ordering the integers. Objectives are just exactly that. Graph them on a number line. Compare them using a number line. Put them in order from least to greatest using a line or not. And we also want to be able to write an integer to represent a real-life situation. Now, before you launch into these, make sure that you know a few things, such as what are less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. You know what these symbols are. You should also know that numbers on a number line, the farther left numbers are less than, the farther right are greater than. Now, with your earlier classes, you've already talked about the whole numbers. Whole numbers are the ones 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you include their opposites, 1 and negative 1, 2 and negative 2, 3 and negative 3, that gives you the integers. So the integers are everything from negative 52 trillion, negative 1 million, negative 112, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and keep going. Since the integers include both positives and negatives, we will have to have a positive and negative side to the number line. Negatives are on the left, positives are on the right. And we say left and right because we're referring to left and right hand side of zeros. All your negatives are arranged like here. All the positives are arranged like that on the right. Graphing on a number line is nothing more than putting a dot in over the tick mark. If we want to graph 0 on a number line, all we have to do is put a dot on top of the 0. To graph a 4, we just put the dot on the 4, and that's it. When we compare these using less than or greater than, we simply need to remember that whichever number is farther left, the inequality symbol points at it. Since 0 is farther left than 4, we have less than. 0 is less than 4. Same thing, graph negative 1 and negative 3. Doing the same thing, graphing negative 1, graphing negative 3, and so which one is farther left? Negative 1 or negative 3?
Negative 1.
Since negative 3 is farther left, our inequality symbol needs to point at negative 3, telling us negative 1 is greater than negative 3. This illustrates one of the common misperceptions that sometimes students have when they start working with negatives. Sometimes students think, well, 3 is bigger than 1, so that's why I've got to say negative 1 is less than negative 3. And that's not what it's about. It's not about bigger or smaller. Inequalities are about farther left on the number line. What about here? Negative 2 and negative 1. Negative 2, negative 1. Negative 2 is farther left, so negative 2 is less than negative 1. Positive 2 and negative 2. Positive 2, negative 2. Since negative 2 is farther left, there we go. Keep in mind then, since the negatives are always on the left and the positives are always on the right, anytime that you compare positives and negatives, any negative number is always less than a positive number because positives are always farther right than negatives are. 3 and 2, positive 3, positive 2. 3 is farther right, so we've got 3 is greater than 2. 0 and 4. 0, 4. 0 is farther left. In terms of a skill, it's fairly straightforward to graph the numbers on the number line and simply draw the arrow so that it's pointing at the thing that goes to the left. Now, when we want to put numbers in order, we need to keep in mind that the negatives are always to the left. And not only that, but the farther left you go, the bigger the numbers get. The farther right you go, in the positive side, the bigger the numbers get. You can graph on a number line to help you arrange, or you can just do it in your head. It's been my experience, most students prefer to do it in their head. And so what they usually do is start by saying, where are the negatives? We only had 2 of them here, so the negatives have to go from bigger number-wise to smaller number-wise. Negative 15 is farther left, followed by negative 2. And now we have to look at each of the others. 4, 10, 8, and 0. Okay, we have 0, 4, 8, and 10. And I'd like to point out one thing that's not good about what I did here. I put the numbers in order. These have a specific context. These aren't just numbers. These are temperatures. And we were told not to order the numbers, we were told to order the temperatures. And so although I have the correct order from the numbers, by getting rid of the labels, I've actually made a mistake. To actually do what the directions told us to do, we should have these things written out with their labels on them. With the labels, it's correct. Because with the labels, it's an order of temperatures, not just an order of numbers. Last thing that we have, we know that integers are positives and negatives. So is this a profit of $40? Should that be a positive or a negative? Well, if you're making money, profits are positives, so that'd be plus 40. If you're losing money, those are negatives. A loss would be a negative 40. And we can simply write out the number, positive or negative, based on the context. And that's it. Whenever you read a piece, we know things like a height would be a positive, depth would be a negative. We know temperatures above 0 are positives, temperatures below 0 are negatives. And that finishes off this particular lesson. We saw that you can graph integers, you can compare them, you can put them in order, and just by picking a positive or negative, you can also describe situations with negatives.